Okay, 6:01, we're opening the Board of Health meeting, August 10th, 2023. Roll call?
Dan Grabowski,
Yes.
Jasmine Quinones,
Excused?
thank you. Gus Steves,
Present.
Nick Dado,
Present.
Kevin Spillane,
Present.
thank you.
Okay. Reorganization number 3. We're here to pick a chairman. Since we have 3 new members, I guess I'm
Well, I'll move to make you chair since
the
you
existing one.
I'll move to make Dan chair because he's obviously got the more experience on the board from the rest of us.
Okay.
If you want it.
I'll accept.
Jasmine Quinones, excuse, Dan Grabowski,
Yes.
Gus Steves,
Yep.
Nick Dado,
Yes.
Kevin Spillane,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, any nominations for vice chair? I'd like to make a nomination. Gus Steves.
Sure.
I could use you, Gus.
I'll second it.
And since I was 6 years
Second.
of chair, so, yeah.
All right, roll call, Kevin Spillane,
Yes.
Nick Dado,
Yes.
Gus Steves,
Yep.
Jasmine Quinones, excuse, Dan Grabowski,
Yes,
thank you. Congratulations.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Do we want to go directly to the hearing, or do you want to
No,
continue?
we have to wait until 6:15.
6:15. Okay, agenda number 4, discuss the Board of Health's duties and responsibilities and expectations.
Okay.
Well, I guess I'll start and identify what I provided to the Board of Health members. A synopsis of the Board of Health and Health Department responsibilities. And what I've identified that the Board of Health and Health Department are distinct but interconnected entities and are charged with protecting and safeguarding the public and environmental health of the town of Southbridge. The Board of Health is a statutory board comprised of appointed members to 3-year terms. The Health Department is a professionally staffed office within the Inspectional Services Department. The Board of Health holds monthly public meetings and conducts public hearings as necessary. Functions in a quasi-judicial manner, and that's court-like, to adjudicate hearings for health code violations. Adopts regulations to provide protections beyond the minimum standards outlined in the Mass General Laws and State Sanitary Code, and sets town-wide policy related to important public health issues. The Health Department handles day-to-day procedural operations, administrative duties, and executes and enforces the various health laws and regulations. Delegated as the enforcing authority for town bylaws. Works to prevent and control communicable diseases and promote a healthy community. Provides inspectional services aimed at protecting the public and environmental health.
I actually read through this section, I think it was provided to me anyway. I think it was attached to the packet, wasn't it? So I was curious if you could give us some more detail on specifically the section that it talks about the protection of the environment from damage and pollution. Because I noticed reading through it, it doesn't really, it links to a lot of Mass General laws, but it doesn't link to Mass General law for background.
Well, again, in one respect, and one of the most important, is the protection of drinking water.
Okay.
That's the whole logic between Title V and the septic system
Yeah.
regulations.
Mhm.
Okay, and that is probably the largest component that we enforce in respect to environmental law.
How broadly does our authority go in terms in other areas?
It has broad effect and scope within, obviously, the town. And what it does is try to unify the regulatory bodies such as the Health Department, Board of Health, and Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection.
Mhm.
Many of the aspects of environmental health are specifically regulated and enforced by Mass DEP.
Right.
Conversely, a lot of the over the years, they have found themselves inundated with responsibilities. And this was very similar to Title V when it was enacted in 1995. Previous to that, Mass DEP enforced and took care of septic systems. Okay? And at that point, they were just inundated and put it on the local boards of health.
Okay.
But within, to answer your question, is if an environmental condition or situation can directly impact public safety, we are involved.
Okay.
And so there's many different scenarios. If you look at something, and that may constitute being involved in all of them to a degree,
Sure.
but when it's more relative to and relevant to the impact of animals or directly the environment, not aside from drinking water or anything like that, but the ecosystem,
Right.
that really is handled and enforced by Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection.
But do we have some sort of a role where we would refer things to DEP if we think
Yes,
they're an issue?
yes, when there's spills or there's caustic or hazardous materials found, whether it be bodies of water, and
Hello.
we have Jasmine.
Oh,
So yes, and it's a coordinated effort and obviously in conjunction with them in a partnership to that degree. That's what we do.
Yeah, because I know that we've had an issue in Southbridge for years about things like asthma and other possibly environmental concerns. I was thinking specifically about, I know since I live on Lebanon Hill, occasionally I'll look I can look down on downtown, I can see kind of like the air pollution haze that tends to settle in the valley on some days. It's not all the time.
That would be, and then again, in broader terms, the State Department of Public Health,
Okay.
Massachusetts Department of Public Health out of Jamaica Plain, the state is authorized and has the right people to assess, evaluate, and enforce that. So they have those departments that we work and can work closely with. From air pollution, asthma, chronic ailments, things like that, respiratory, yes, they are a support mechanism.
And one of the other things that jumped out at me reading through this section is a reference to review and approve or disapprove preliminary and definitive subdivision plans.
That, again,
Which
that's
they're definitely
contingent
overlapping.
upon bylaws, yes, if there's involvement with tie-ins to septic systems, larger systems.
Mhm.
Yes, I mean, there's so many fronts to public health and it's so broad,
Right,
right?
right, that's what
And do we consolidate and take care of the more important aspects and the traditional ones? For instance, food safety, restaurant inspections, right? The Title V, the septics, housing, and public nuisances. But it can go on and on and on. And that's why the health department and the Board of Health has the ability to enforce that broad range of aspects. And again, in public health and legally speaking, per Mass General laws, we have the authority to do that, to inspect, enforce. So in my line of work, it's really becomes endless. Because if you look at something, in theory, anything can be traced back to public safety.
Sure.
A trip hazard, a branch in the way of the sidewalk, right? It all refers back to that. And so we have to really condition ourselves and look at things and analyze and be analytical of whether it does constitute a public health threat.
And where do you draw the line between physical public safety and public health?
Well, again, that's individually, case-based. The circumstances are always different. I mean, but there's also normal ones. Normal findings which I would refer back to restaurant inspections or housing inspections, more definitive ones. And then there's isolated issues where we find both with residential and commercial entities. So that broad scope and broad ability to enforce and use the power of the Board of Health, at times you've got to wrangle it in and understand that you don't want to get too broad, because then you just pull yourself away and you're unable to get to the fundamentals,
And I
which,
can understand that, yeah.
okay.
Okay, and how much of this stuff would be coming actually to us, and how much of it is
Well,
actually?
again, what the difference is here is the health department is the day-to-day operation,
Right,
okay? An emphasis should be with the Board of Health, in my opinion, to adopt the regulations, and really set town-wide policy. That's the objective here. Not to go from day-to-day events and identify these things to the health department. That's not how it should work.
okay.
Because then things get thrown out of alignment. Individually, I can understand each member's intent or agenda or outlook of the health department, of the Board of Health, but what makes it much easier is that the health department collectively gets an order from the board, a united order, not individually. So it's a concerted effort,
Right, that makes sense.
okay? That's what I would emphasize. Not individually, but as a whole, your department come to us for items. And I think that would be advantageous and completely benefit for the long term. And I think it would be a viable approach where we do get things done. And we all do understand there's a lot of challenges here in town that need to be addressed,
Absolutely.
okay?
Any other questions?
At the moment, for me, no.
Oh, it's 6:14, one. All right. Okay, agenda item number 5, accept the meeting minutes of February 16, 2023. I just tried to accept them the way they are and just get them off the slate. These been on here for 5 or 6 months. Just the way they are, we'll accept them. I've read them. Jasmine's read them.
You're the only ones who matter.
We don't even need a vote on this. Just the way it was written, just the way we should accept them, just put these to rest.
Motion, as written.
As written, and just get rid of them. And agenda item B with June 29th, the same thing. Accept them the way they are, I read them.
Is Jasmine doing a second on the February 16th?
I think Dan's speaking for me.
For the record, are you motioning
Yes.
second? Thank you.
I didn't mean,
No, I'm just kidding.
I mean,
okay.
they've been here for months. There's nothing we can, no, these are minutes. And I would like that for, and C, I wasn't here, July 20th, but I read my portion of my input of that. I accept that. And Jasmine was here, so if we can maybe get rid of, just, well,
I think
there wasn't a quorum, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, there wasn't, yeah.
So, but just for the record, what it was quoted, what I wrote in the email, that was accurate. Okay, now it's 6:16. We have a hearing
I move we
on
open the hearing.
Stop and Save on 179 Elm Street.
Is there a second to open the hearing? I move that we open the hearing.
Second.
So, me? So, thank you for hearing our appeal. You'll notice the suspension was
Excuse me,
written.
sir, what's your name?
Oh, I'm sorry, my name is Rich Costello. So I'm the owner of the property at 177, 179 Elm. I bought that from Roger Ford 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
So the citation was written to Usman Rashid, who was not here. He had previously planned vacation with his family, so he's out of town. His brother is here and his friend is here, Hassan and Imran. I think they signed in under those names, and they're actually co-owners of the convenience store business with Usma. So the reason I'm here, I own the building, but I'm also acting, I was in the distribution business for 30 years, so I'm helping the store to source products. I don't know if any of you have been into the store, but when we bought it, it was in pretty much a state of disrepair. We've spent a lot of money rehabbing it, interior, new heating system, new air conditioning system. We've done a lot of work, so, you know, I've sort of been spearheading that, along with the ordering products and meeting with the vendors and so forth. So the tobacco part of it is, obviously the citation is written in a way that says we did not have letters at the time that the inspector came in. So what we did have with the store was a flash drive with the letters on it, and apparently there was no computer there, so this was not able to be accessed. So I'll accept the responsibility that we probably should have printed the letters out, although I don't think the law requires that they're printed out. But when she came in, I don't know, is she here?
I am.
Yeah, so you looked, you talked to Melissa, she couldn't find.
The clerk, she did try to find them,
Yeah.
and actually this year they are going to be required to be printed.
Oh, they are?
Yes, for the products that you have, you don't have to print all of them because.
Okay, we have since printed them all, and I thought having them on a zip drive would be appropriate, would be acceptable, but at any rate, when she called me, I sent the letter for the Acid Cigars to her phone, but you had already left the store. So, you know, I really can't argue the fact that we're in the wrong there, but some of the things I'm questioning are some of the things that you pulled off the shelf. Well, let me give you an example here. So some of the wraps that you pulled off.
Dan?
Yes.
Would you like me to go over the violation?
I would like you to right from the beginning, please,
Okay.
because he's opening up it up, nobody knows where he's coming from already. I mean,
Sorry. Yeah.
Can you explain exactly what the violation was, and then he can defend himself?
Sure, I can
I
explain a
mean,
little
but
bit.
that'd be
as
nice,
to-
because right now I'm trying, I already read what the violation was,
Yeah.
but I'd rather hear it.
Okay.
We all rather hear it.
So,
Please.
on that date, myself and actually our program director, Joan Hamlet, was in the store with me. She came with me to do inspections in Southbridge.
Excuse me, before you start, can you, this is my first night at this meeting.
Sure.
Me too.
Can you explain who you are, where you're from, what you do? I have no clue who you are.
Okay.
Who you work for? Are you a town
Yeah.
employee or?
Okay, I'm sworn in to work for Southbridge. My name is Jody Briganti. I work for the Tobacco Control Alliance. We have 46 towns, ranging from Southbridge over to Blackstone, up to Fitchburg, over to Orange, and we are their tobacco control programs, okay? So what it is that we provide various services. We do a retail education visit once a year. That's when we bring information, and that's what this visit was. We do that annually. We give an information packet to the store, to the retailer, and we have them sign that they've received this information. And it's the most current information we have. Everything is evolving in the tobacco industry, and we try to keep our retailers as up to date as we are, you know, in giving them that information. So what occurred this day, so I was in Southbridge, and Joan and I went into the store, and there were some flavored products that we immediately saw. There were some King Palm rolls, and if you look to, you can see there's pictures of them in the report. We use a computer, it's an iPad, it's right here. We enter, it shows that we're in the store, we take pictures with the iPads where everything's recorded. And so if you look on, you'll see there's a list. So the King Palm is considered a flavor enhancer. It's something that you would put the tobacco in and smoke and it would give it the flavor. And those aren't allowed in the state of Massachusetts. Also, we found Blue Palma Game cigar, which is a vanilla flavored cigar. And let's see here. The Acid Blondie and the Acid Cuba Cuba, they're flavored products, but that was given a warning because there is a letter. But if you read our retail education packet, we go on to explain that the agency has deemed it a flavored product.
So, okay, good.
Also some pre-rolls, and one of the top shelf pre-rolls is a Delta 8 product, and Delta 8 is not allowed to be sold in Massachusetts. That's part of the handout, it's part of last year's handout as well.
So the violations are pretty much what he was selling that was illegal?
Correct, and we put, because there was no, if you look on the first page of the violation,
Right.
it talks about, the date that we went in. And, there's 2 that are checked, one is offering for sale a flavored tobacco product or tobacco product flavor enhancer. And then failure to maintain a record of the documentation. And those are the manufacturer letter, which each tobacco retailer in the state of Massachusetts is required to have. And it's a good reference for retailers, because if you receive a product and it's not in your letters, then you know that you can't have it. So it's a good reference point for retailers to have. Also on the first page of the violation, it goes to previous violations. On 8/3/22, there was offering for sale a flavored tobacco product, and that was a $1,000 fine, which has been paid. And then on 3/30/22, and that's when that was my first time in Southbridge, and I did a retail education visit, and I met this gentleman and Mr. Usman at that visit. He was just purchasing the store.
Right.
So I came in and spoke to you both in regard to flavored products. So that was a warning that was issued at that time, because there was flavored products, but since and he was a new store owner, and just getting the hang of what he can and cannot have, it was just issued as a warning. Okay? And then it sets the $2,000 fine and then a 7-day permit suspension.
You mean for the current violation?
Yeah, correct.
'Cause that's the second one.
Okay. If I may, Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
First of all, you mentioned something called Delta 8, which is not in this list. That's not in this list that I have.
Okay, it's on the second page. It's 33 joint pre-roll. You'll see the delta symbol and an 8.
I see, okay, I see.
I probably should write it out next time.
Yeah, I know what Delta 8 is, but that
That's the
doesn't look
symbol.
like that.
Yeah, they put there's Delta 8 and there's Delta 10, and they mostly will just put that Delta symbol and the 8 or the 10.
So it's a specific kind of product as opposed to.
It's on the cannabis realm, like the THC.
Yeah, it's a
THC.
component of the hemp product.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't realize that had Delta 8. I thought those had Delta 9. It does say Delta 8 on the
It
product?
does. You can see it in the pictures.
Which picture is it?
I'm gonna have to.
20 pictures.
Because when I was looking through some of the law, I came across the reference to the fact that the flavoring laws don't refer to marijuana. They specifically exempt marijuana.
But Delta 8 isn't allowed to be sold in Massachusetts at all.
It is, okay. So then that isn't a flavoring issue. How about the other things that are labeled as hemp products on your list? There are several other
Hemp-
things on your list that are labeled as hemp products.
So,
hemp smokes.
hemp wraps are allowed to be sold, flavored hemp wraps. But from my understanding, no other hemp flavored product. There's some here that are menthol flavored,
Okay.
so.
There's a couple of
So
here
the
that are-
flavor law, the flavor law impacts products that have nicotine or tobacco.
Okay.
And hemp products contain neither nicotine nor tobacco.
Yeah.
So, like if you go to the store now, you left the Natty wraps, which
Those,
are hemp wraps,
yeah.
and those are all flavored.
Mhm.
And you also you took off some of the King Palm wraps, but you left others.
Not the flavored one. If it was unflavored, it was allowed.
No, I have pictures of the ones that are still there on the shelf, and I'm not trying to skirt anything here. We're probably better off just not selling any of this instead of having, it's a small part of the business, but, we're in this now, so I'm trying to understand what it is we did wrong. If the those wraps are still, you left them on the shelf, they're still flavored.
They shouldn't have been left on the shelf. We took, the only ones that were left were the unflavored ones,
Okay.
so.
So why
we
would
put
they be
ex-
taken off if they're a hemp wrap and the natty hemp wraps?
The king palms aren't hemp. They're made out of palm. That's the
Okay,
difference. So
that's-
they're not exempt. So
They're not exempt.
I find wraps, chamomile tea flavored wraps, I find, and what it is that people will put tobacco in them and they'll also put marijuana in them and smoke them. And we're finding that a lot of kids are doing that.
Okay.
As far as the acid cigars, I mean, how did you determine that they were flavored? Because we have a letter from, like 10 pages from them.
Right, from Drew Estates, and that's
Right.
something where previously, and this is something that Joan, my program director, would be better to speak to on this because she's the one who did it. But it is in our education packets that we've brought since we've had the town of Southbridge.
So we have, I mean, granted, we didn't have the letters on the site printed as you said they're supposed to, they were on a flash drive.
Right.
But regardless of that, we do have letters for each one of those products issued by the manufacturer.
So you have one for King Palm.
Yeah, right
It's-
here.
and it
King Pound
says-
product is 100% all natural cordial leaf that is hand rolled. This is tobacco-free alternative that has zero glue and no additives. With a pre-installed corn husk filter tip. To be clear, this product is tobacco-free.
Correct, it is tobacco-free.
So is that
But it's
enough of a
flavored.
letter?
It's considered to be a flavored enhancer. And that's where, and I haven't seen that letter, so I'm not sure, if it's valid. And I'm not sure if Joan put in your packets the letter that explains what a flavor enhancer is. She was
Right,
going to do that, I'm not sure if she did.
According to the law, it specifically says tobacco product flavor enhancer is any product designed, manufactured, produced, marketed, or sold to produce a characterizing flavor when
Right.
added to any tobacco product.
Tobacco, but these aren't tobacco products.
You would
These
put
are
it-
not tobacco products.
but
And
you
then
would-
it catches that there's
Right, that-
when added to a tobacco product.
Yeah,
Right.
so if you're adding, for instance, Newports
Uh,
are banned in Massachusetts because that's a tobacco product, obviously has tobacco and nicotine and a flavor, so that's banned.
Right.
I totally get that. The gray area is where you have these hemp wraps that are basically empty and people are putting whatever they're putting in them.
Yeah.
We're selling them to adults, but it's not tobacco. But there are gray areas, and I don't claim to understand everything, but we do have letters for each of those products that we received a citation for from the manufacturer saying that they're, according to them, and, I don't know if they're gonna go to court with us, but they're saying that they meet the requirements of Massachusetts 105 CMR, whatever the law is.
do we
In
have
regard to
copies of
tobacco,
those?
not in regard to the flavor enhancer.
No, in regard to all the products that you cited us for, the King Palm, the acid cigars,
The acid cigar was just a warning.
okay, correct.
So we're just talking about flavor enhancement then, pretty much?
Well, no, there was the Blue Game Palma, which is a vanilla flavored cigar.
That was, we were totally wrong with that. That was taken off the shelf last time you were in. I think we got cited for that the first
You
time.
did,
you were in.
and I have pictures of that one, which had 4 cigars in it, and this one was a full.
Yeah, it was in the back room. We hadn't sold anything out of that. I mean, I guess technically it should have been taken out of the building, right?
Correct, any flavored products have to be out.
But it wasn't displayed though,
It
right?
wasn't displayed, it was in the locked back where the cigarette and the lottery tickets are.
So in other words, it was pushed aside to the attic, we're
Yeah, I
gonna
was
forget
trying
about
to
it,
get credit
but
for the
if it's
manufacturer.
supposed to be out, it's supposed to be out, but I understand that.
Yeah, no, it was supposed to be out of the building, so I didn't, that's my bad, but we were
Yeah.
trying to get credit from our Cormark, who's our distributor,
Yeah.
and they said, we can't give you credit for it until, they sold it to us. Largest, I used to work for Cormark for 30 years, so they're the largest distributor in the country. They won't give us credit unless it's out of code, so I should have just thrown it out.
No, I mean, yeah.
If I can go for you to ask Joe your question is, so I understand that the law says that the manufacturers need to certify these things. How much responsibility do the distributors
None.
have?
It's none.
None, they won't take any, they'll provide you the letters. They will restrict the product, like Cormark restricts a lot of products. So, if something is banned, like Newports, you can get Newports in New Hampshire, but you
Right.
can't get them in Mass. So Cormark will do that.
And I noticed that the state law specifically says that a Massachusetts distributor can sell some of these things to people out of state.
Right, and that's
Yeah.
another thing
Which
that I
doesn't
don't
make a lot of
get.
sense
Yeah,
to
and
me.
the flavor enhancer, if it's mixed with tobacco, it's considered a flavored enhancer, but it's mixed with marijuana, it's not. So how are you supposed to
Well,
differentiate, like, what people are
there's no
using
question
it
about
for?
marijuana in
Yeah.
any of these products. This is,
No.
it's hemp, so it's not,
Oh,
there's
this
no
is
question
just-
of us having
this is
any
just-
marijuana products in the store.
I think that I mean, even, there's a gray area even with with the people who are citing. I can't imagine
I mean-
what it would be for, like, a regular retail
I
person.
think she'll,
Yeah.
you'll admit that it's, the law is pretty crazy, right, with, how much it changes.
I'm not going to admit that.
Yeah, so,
No, I understand what
head's
you're doing, I
spinning
value
right now.
what you're doing, I do.
Okay.
Did you want to see a picture of the Delta Teams?
Yeah, I would, yeah, because that's
Oh,
definitely, Delta Rate is definitely, that one should not be there for
Do
sure.
we have copies of these, of both these letters and the education packets that the tobacco control distributes to these businesses?
I'm not sure if you have a.
Dan, you had
I
sent
can
it
give you
out.
copies of the letters, of each of the letters.
I
for
think
the
we got
products
those
that
in
we signed
emails,
up
Dan.
on.
Is that again?
You had
I
sent
think
it
we got
out,
those in
remember?
emails
Yeah,
at one
you
time.
guys, did you receive it?
Because you
No,
spent
a
on
long time ago. Maybe we could
Yeah,
forward
we
it to
did,
them.
yeah.
Huh?
It has the Delta 8 on
You
it.
want me to forward it to you?
And that's something that when I
Keep
did
it on
my
file.
visit in March of last year, there was Delta 8 products.
So that's, Delta 8 is a component of the hemp, right?
I'm not sure.
So
Yeah.
this is, so what is this?
So,
What is this?
can I ask a question through the
Yes.
chair?
Yes, of course.
What is that THC?
Is the fine, will the fine be reduced if we
There's no.
lump any of these, pro- the fine's defined no matter if it's one product
Fines are not
or
reduced.
The law
10
allows
products,
The
right?
fines are not
to sell
reduced.
hemp products
Either they're
only
enforced or
at
not.
0.2% THC.
One at a time.
But they changed the law last year and said anything that has Delta 8 in it, which is, it's a component of the hemp, that's banned. So we were wrong to have that. I didn't realize we even had that.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
in the spirit of moving this along,
I'm trying to understand what's going on here.
will the fine, does the fine amount change based upon the number of products that are in violation? So the fine's the fine whether we have 10 products in
Right.
violation or one.
And it can't
So
be
I don't think we
reduced.
need to spend much more time talking about the flavor enhancers than if we have a flavored cigar that
No.
is
Yeah.
subject to the fine.
All right.
No, I can understand that. I'm just also trying to understand what the law
I
actually.
know, but we don't
Yeah,
necessarily
the
need
point,
a
the point we were
half hour
trying to
through
make, I was trying to make is that, you know, we're trying to be good corporate
Do it on your
citizens here.
own.
If you come into the store, we saw a broad range of products, of which tobacco is not the main driver. But the fine that's been imposed is gonna amount to $15,000 to $20,000. And
Yeah.
we have 3 employees, you know, local girls that work there, that's,
Hold on,
that's
Mr.
pretty heavy
Shea.
fine.
Kevin, Mrs. Swain?
I have a question. What is the actual procedure or protocol when this Tobacco Control Alliance goes into an establishment? I'm just curious, because my question that I'm kind of baffled on is you went in on the 29th of June,
Correct.
14 days to write a cease and desist letter after that?
It has to do with,
Is that normal?
it can be, it has to do with who's in the office, inspections, you know, if someone had a vacation.
And to me, that seems like an substantial amount of time to put a cease and desist sort of 14 days after a violation.
And if I can follow up on that, I noticed that too, so given the fact that the Board of Health basically didn't have quorum for the whole last month, have they already been served for their suspension?
No.
No.
You have not?
No, we came in and asked for the hearing, and we were told at that time that we didn't have to do anything until the hearing was held.
That's what I hoped.
Yeah.
George?
I think what the Board of Health needs to consider is the fact that these laws and understanding of the laws are very vague, and to misunderstand them is very easy to do, and to make errors and to make mistakes. And I think it's up to the board to recognize the leniencies for business owners in this community. They're here trying to make a living, and you know, you can go have a flavored wrap and get a big fine, I can send my granddaughter into the liquor store and get a case of beer and get a slap on the hand. These laws for the smoking products are very vague and can be misunderstood very easily. And I hope that the board would take that into consideration when they make their decision tonight. For me, I would rather see, instead of a group coming in and doing these inspections, that the Board of Health formulate their own rules and regulations on how they would enforce and go out and inspect. I just think when outsiders come in, they just don't, there's no leniency. It's this way or no way.
Yeah.
And that's what concerns me.
Mr. Lazo?
I'm taken back by the whole tobacco outlook. It's got nothing to do with this store. We in the state of Massachusetts, we legalized marijuana, but we're gonna punish flavor enhancers. And I'm like, this is America the last time I checked. When I see a hearing like this, and I see people, you know, there are real serious problems in our society. I don't think flavored products is our problem. But going forward, I too agree with Councilor Virginia. The fine is way over the top.
Yeah.
Okay? So I think going forward, I think you have to weigh the pros and cons of your community and your business. I'm not saying, hey, the law is the law, I get it. But every time Boston has a law come down the chute, the local small businesses suffer. I'm an owner of a couple of them.
Okay, I have a couple of things. Jasmine and I have been through these hearings before, and as we were told, the tobacco industry is really vague. Sometimes they just ship stuff to the businesses, and they expect it to know, and Massachusetts doesn't have a list of what's this and what's that.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're basically taking a risk on what you're selling, because it's always updated or it's not updated. And as far as what we've heard, I mean,
Subject to
Mr.
interpretation?
Costello obviously is trying to go out and trying to do the right thing. He admitted that something was done,
Yeah.
so I'm not really,
I'm ready for a vote.
the gentleman admitted that he got caught, he's trying to do things and fix things, so I really don't think we should just prosecute Mr. Costello and Mr. Guzman. Sorry, I'm bad with names. Guzman. So I would think to be lenient on this one.
I wanna make a
They're going
motion.
out of their way.
Yeah.
I have a question for Joe.
Okay.
Do you have an up-to-date list of the products that the state currently bans?
We have copies that we have gotten from distributors. We aren't allowed to give them to our retailers because it's a constantly changing list. So that's why for the past 3 years, we have done retail education to make sure that our retailers have these lists. And then our phone number, our contact information. You know, we want our retailers to be in compliance.
Yeah,
That's our goal. And we have our phone numbers right on there. We want them to call us with a product. We've had pictures taken, texted to us, is this okay? We'll research it for them. You know, we want successful retailers, that is our goal.
I totally
The
agree.
state did put into effect mandatory fines. You know, it is quite a lot. It's $1,000, $2,000, and $5,000. You know, that is the fine structure that they set. And, you know, the way a board, we gave you a handout as to how, you know, to look at this. And, you know, it's just, you know, with a responsible finding, you know, the $2,000 would be owed, but you could have some leeway in regard to the permit suspension.
Right.
You know, the protocol is there was something either wrong with the inspection or it didn't happen. Those are the two choices. And, you know, we've done multiple retail educations.
Is there any way we can get that at least the current list on the website so everybody can see it at the same time?
Like I said before, it is constantly evolving,
that.
so I would hate to have a product on there, on the list, and then come to find out that it's truly flavored. So you know, this gentleman worked for Core-Mark, and Core-Mark is very good, and they contact the retailer. All the retailer has to do is call their rep, and the guy from the road will pull over and send them the list right then.
It doesn't happen like that. I mean, I wish
Oh,
it did.
I've seen it happen, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not
Hold on,
as bad
George.
as that.
I'd like to make a motion to, reconsider the fee.
Hold one more
What are
second,
you doing?
Jasmine. Mr. Shenya has something to say.
Just one other thing, that the tobacco person is making, this is a serious infraction, serious money. What's disturbing is the fact that it was so serious, it took 14 days to issue a cease and desist.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Within that 14 days, they could have been there 3 more times
Selling
citing
it,
him for
yeah.
the same thing.
Right.
So, you know, it takes 14 days to get a letter out. How serious of an infraction is it? How serious is the board, you know, that panel's doing? I think the whole thing is just, the state should look at the whole picture and revamp it all. I mean, it's just, I don't think it's fair.
All right, Jasmine.
I'd like to make a motion to reconsider the fee.
Do you want to accept the
What do you
appeal?
mean?
No?
I don't know if you can. Well,
Yeah.
consider the fine.
Says it in this paper
Can
right here.
consider the suspension.
Okay.
So could I ask a figure that we would be more than happy to pay the $2,000 fine, because we were in the wrong, right? But you said that there was some leeway in terms of the suspension of the license. That's the part that is really gonna impact the store.
Oh, so you gotta do one or, yeah, okay.
I don't think you,
Yeah, you can't
if
split
you're
it
found
up.
guilty, right, then you have to do something, right? Is that what you're saying, according to the law?
I noticed that in the, there was one of the pieces of paper, the paperwork that you gave us back here, talks about one of the businesses having their suspension continued without a fine and cease and
Correct.
desist, which would take effect if another violation occurred during, in this case, 36 months.
Right, so if they're, within 36 months, if there was another violation, then they would get that violation, which would be a 30-day, and then have to serve the 7-day on top of that.
And does,
Scott, I'm sorry.
if I can follow up on that, is, to clarify, it says, if I understand what you were saying earlier, your visit to this facility was the first time you'd been here with the turnout?
No,
No,
no, it was the 3rd.
the third.
Scott?
I would urge you to go with a continuance without a finding, and take it to the next limit as far as if it happens again. I just don't see where as they say, the crime versus the time,
Yeah.
That's a fix.
there's an imbalance. And I think that, you know, this is outrageous, but I mean, just my opinion. And that's why, as it's thank God for local boards and commissions where we can work with our businesses and put a continuance without a finding and move forward.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to hold the retailer not responsible.
I second it.
Okay, that sounds good.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
also, going back to this 13-day, 14-day timeframe, the other thing is, I believe the business owner requested a hearing on July 19th, if I'm correct.
Was it?
The thing is all these
right.
dates, something doesn't add up to me, because, 13 days to give him a cease and desist order. July 19th, he requests a hearing, and we don't reply back until August 7th and tell him he's gotta be here 3 days later. I mean, that right there, you gotta be somewhere by Saturday, have to be there, I don't care what your plans
So we have
are.
a motion on the
We
table. to hold
postponed
them
it for a
responsible.
reason. I think we postponed it because I think,
I think when we came in to request the hearing, there was a town meeting scheduled for that night, and we had to wait for the next one.
Right.
right.
But what I'm saying is the response either through the town or through this tobacco alliance, I think that's unacceptable. I mean, 14 days to put a cease and desist order on it, and then they give you 3 days
To respond.
to be here, not respond, 3 days to be here.
Well, I think
The letter was penned August 7th to
For
be
the
here for August
record,
10th.
I've been in touch with Mr. Costello verbally via phone, so
Yes.
he knew way ahead of time,
Which is
not
fine,
3
but it
days.
just, the dates on
Right.
paper don't look kosher, that is what I'm
Right.
trying to say.
There was communication
And then
throughout. That's what
we
she
get,
was
and
saying.
the thing that's always been my pet peeve in all the committees I sat on is what happened tonight. The hearings tonight, and this has been going on since the 29th of June, and we got paperwork 4 hours, it was penned 4 hours before tonight's meeting to read a 6-page document. I just, something's fishy, and I second his motion.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a motion on the table not to hold the retailer responsible. Second by Jasmine Canonas. Roll call, Nick Dado,
Yes.
Jasmine Canonas,
Yes.
Gus Steves,
Maybe we should be talking about it first.
I don't think we've talked
We
enough.
killed it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
thank you. Kevin Spillane,
Yes.
thank you. Dan Grabowski.
Yes.
Thank you.
Moving on. That's it.
I need a
We're
motion
done?
to close the
Yeah.
hearing.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Over here.
Make a motion to close the
The
hearing.
hearing is closed.
Yeah.
Second. Thank you. Jasmine Canonas,
Yes.
Nick Dado,
Yes.
Kevin Spillane,
Yes.
Dan Grabowski.
Yes.
Gus Steves.
Yes.
Agenda item number 6, Citizens Forum. George?
Two things for the board. I was contacted by a lady on Hudson Ave regarding textiles. She went through the different boxes for throwing away some items, and all the boxes that were out there said they wouldn't accept or not to throw the stuff that she had. Some of it was torn old bed sheets, some old blankets, and stuff that wasn't acceptable for, I guess, reuse. So she went to a whole bunch of them in town and saw the same, pretty much the same thing, and she can't throw it into the trash. So how are we dealing with textiles?
Exactly, with those receptacles. Now, it's convoluted, absolutely, with some textiles that are torn or soiled, et cetera. They're not accepted at these jobs. And the fact of the state law that they're not to be thrown in trash. Like I said, to me, it's a very gray area, and as I indicated, it needs much more research, and it has to be more definitive, the law. But I can tell you at that point, we have to just go case by case, and we have to pull in Anna Smith and have that person give us a call to assess the situation and figure out the directions that may be taken. That's the best I can offer right now.
But if this is just one person, this is a town-wide issue.
It is,
So this
correct.
is something I believe that the board and the health department should maybe come up with an idea on what to do with this. I mean, maybe have a drop-off location similar to like they do for the brush and those kind of things, for textiles that are not accepted in those containers. Because otherwise what happens is as they're emptying those containers, it goes out on the street. And the guy on Elm and Everett, he takes care of it himself, you know, because it's his property there. So I think something needs to be addressed.
And honestly, I can tell you, Counselor, that we've had several questions brought forth to our office over the months pertaining to the subject. And what we've done is put our heads together in conjunction with Anna Smith, landfill monitor, who is really the expert in our office to address that. Well noted. I will look into this.
Okay.
And definitely address this with her, specifically with possibly establishing a drop-off location or box, which the health department can manage.
Yeah.
Okay, if we got one other thing, or unless Counselor has it.
On that subject, Dan, would we treat these textiles like mattresses?
So,
Would they have to be
similar.
like bagged properly and all that?
Yes, Yes, they're pretty much treated in the same manner.
The
I
Casella
mean-
won't pick them up.
Yeah, yes.
My second thing is that I've been coming to a few meetings since the ad hoc for trash disbanded kinda. And it appears that the Board of Health or the Health Department, I don't know which is one, but there's been very little action being taken on the trash, curbside trash that we know of as public. And March is coming very, very fast, and I'd like to know where we stand with that as far as the Board of Health, because there's been nothing in the past about really trash.
Well, this is, thank you for bringing this forward, it is important, I concur. I'm actually placing curbside trash and recycling announcement on agenda 8, my announcement. With that said, collectively, we are assessing the facts, and we want to give the residents as a whole the facts, what we know right now, okay, in a clear and concise manner. I've addressed this with Anna Smith this week, and we're formulating a plan where we'd like to do a mailer. And with that, to keep the residents abreast of what is happening at this point. Again, this is something that we've had a lot of calls, I've personally taken, and a lot of questions to our department. And we want to emphasize, again, the message to be clear, concise, and factual. I will address some of the important aspects of what's going on right now, fundamentally. And we will expand on that, and our approach is to identify this in some type of mailer. We're going to put our heads together and send them out to all the residents. And rather sooner than later. This will take place sooner.
So I had mentioned to you, it is affecting other departments, not just the health department, regarding the lack of information being put out. Talked to Mr. Wasik that I had a guy yesterday that was misinformed by his neighbor that it's $800 a year for tax, and why isn't it going on our tax bill? Why the town should pay for it? You know, we pay enough for tax. I said, we put out a survey. The survey overwhelmingly said people do not want it on their tax bill. I said, if you have a house, a 2-family, you are using water and sewer, and you would be using the trash. A piece of land is not using trash, is not using water and sewer. Commercial properties have their own dumpsters. You know, so I had a 15-minute conversation about trash with this guy, and he was not happy with us not knowing how much it is, how much it's gonna cost, and when it's gonna start, which I could not give him an answer. So where can I go to get the answer? I pointed to the health department, and I'm not going to that. So, you know, he wanted, you know, he said, I should be able to go to any department and get the information I need. Well, you can't do that because some departments, we all have bylaws and different state statutes that we have to follow within our department. It's not our forte to give you all the information town-wide. And, you know, we can only give you what we know at this point. So I'm just,
George, I didn't see, oh, sorry, I didn't see you. I didn't see you was on.
A couple things. First of all, just for the record, the survey was overwhelmingly for taxes. It wasn't overwhelmingly that they don't want taxes.
Oh,
The
yeah.
survey was overwhelmingly, they wanted it taxes. So I just wanted to make that clear before the wrong information is given out. Second of all, I just wanted to respond to his information earlier about the role of the Board of Health. And in our bylaws, the Board of Health shall be responsible for the formulation and enforcement of regulations. So, with regard to health, so basically the Board of Health is responsible for enforcing the health in this community. So I think that you should work with the Board of Health together. I on enforcement, because it really is their responsibility through our bylaws. And finally, the board shall also establish and enforce standards to protect the public health with regard to refuse collection and disposal in the town, so they are also responsible for curbside collection.
Correct.
Now, recently, we voted for a grant, to accept a grant, to have someone study our curbside collection enterprise fund. Do you know where that, you don't know where that stands?
I do not, I've not been kept abreast of that at this point. So, I think it's prudent that we are, but we have not been.
Okay.
And things have been idle and stagnant for the last couple of months, since the ad hoc really disbanded, stopped. So we're left being the messenger, and that's what we're trying to do.
I will talk to the town manager, and I will
That'd be great.
keep you on the thread on that. Thank you.
Excellent.
Scott?
That's all I have, thanks.
Town council voted on the option, the people did a great job on the mailing and everything that they did. I know that they're talking Casella is low bid on the trash pickup. To my knowledge, the town manager is working on the actual contract and the particulars. I think the Board of Health, it's kind of there's a financial end and then there's a health end of it. And I think that, and Gus, you probably see the same way I do, it's gotta come together. And I think in 2 weeks, when we get our new town manager, I think you're gonna see a lot of stuff like blight, a lot of stuff that's been sitting idle because of vacancies, because the manager's moving, a lot of different reasons. But I think you got the team there, you got the health inspector there, the building inspector. You got kind of a consolidated group for public health, whether it be, condemning a building or for health reasons or for structural reasons. But going forward, I think the town manager is gonna be in contact with the health agent, and it'll go to the Board of Health as far as it is Casella, this is the plan, but not sitting down with the low bid, that's what's the next step. It's upstairs. I think we just gotta give it 2 weeks, get the town manager on board, and get moving on it. We've got plenty of time, I think, to get it done by March.
Kevin?
Yes, on a similar subject, the municipal lien process also needs to be moved forward, because we've had a situation where enforcement was one of the hot points on the ad hoc committee. And we come to find out that we didn't have the enforceable municipal lien, so that when a violation was given to a property owner, it never went on the actual municipal lien process. We need that to be done. We still, I asked questions of, when we were doing in the ad hoc, 6,400 households. Do we have do we have that ability to quantify those so-called 6,400 households? We need to do, how many toters do we have out there? How many recycling toters? We need the whole system to be able to function within the water and sewer billing system, because the water and sewer billing system is you don't want to create a new bill. You have water and sewer, they're already in enterprise funds. It would just be another service on your water and sewer bill, that curbside trash pickup. All three are of the same feather. But we've been discussing in the ad hoc committee that the assessor's office needs the lead time to get the computer time and organizations and
Scott?
Just to add to that, I think we got a bigger problem, which we have to handle. It's called the finance department.
Okay.
Assessor's office is one leg of the whole thing. I think we've got an accountant's office, collector's office, the treasurer, along with the assessor's office. The assessor's office isn't gonna take this on by themselves. Okay, so that's why I'm trying to say to you, It's upstairs with the town manager and the council right now. It's being worked on by the finance department's gonna have to be hauled into it, the health department. This is a bigger undertaking than one ad hoc committee. Yeah, the ad hoc committee did their job, they did a great job, but going forward, the town departments are gonna have to take the reins on it.
I
Francine?
agree with Council Lazo. I think that the town department heads, well, even if it was just staff, need to come together to develop a plan of action. Ms. Carney had a plan that was given upstairs. Had who's gonna cover this, who's gonna do that, who's gonna do that. But there's been no movement. So,
And the thing is, on the vacancy of the town manager, it created the stall.
right.
You know, as far as the giddy up. The treasurer resigned, which we're working on that very quickly. That's not gonna be that's not gonna take long to correct, to fill. And I thought, that's why I'm saying, we need John Sullivan in a couple weeks. When the manager gets on, we're gonna turn around. I think you'll see a department heads meeting. I think you'll see more coordination amongst the finance department first, only to come in to work with the Board of Health.
Francine?
I just wanna say to the Board of Health, there is a 6-month lead time for me to be able to work with the support people I need with our software. So I asked for a agenda item to be added to Gen Gov, because my quote for training with these people expires August 31st. So that to me is priority, to get that time booked so that I can get people to help me, because I have to use other towns' templates unless we wanna pay for a customized program, which is not, that's development, that takes 4 to 5 years. There's already one in the system that I could use. I already went with support, talked to them on August 10th. We've also called in Mark, the town manager for Orchard has Mark General, used to be the one who's a billing person. He's come in and has helped me with certain things. So I have a project for him to help me with reconciling our tax database to water and sewer, because there are questions there. So we cannot use our current tax database and send it out to a third-party biller. I found multiple mistakes that Ms. Carney corrected, but you cannot bill a property for a house that's been demolished, you know, or, right? I mean, the house is not there, there's nobody living there. So things that came up on the list that red flagged me that this is a problem. So I'm just saying, if we're looking for a third-party biller, that is not the source to get the information. And I said at another meeting, I was 85% there to set up and do testing, but without general ledger numbers, I am at 3%.
Right.
I cannot go forward without general ledger numbers. So
Do we
that
know how-
to me is finance.
Right.
And
Do we know
the
how
further
long
we
this
have no
study-
leg, that the further the town has to pay it out of taxes or whatever, because I cannot do testing over 1 quarter. So I need 6 months to a year to test, and
Do we know
it's
how long
less
that
than a
study
year
will
away.
take? Do we know how long that study will take? I don't, Mike, do you remember how long it took?
I don't know how long it's gonna take, but I'd like to know is when is it gonna start?
Yeah, me too.
We voted the money,
We did,
the
yeah.
state can come in and do all this work for us, so I'd like to know what's going on with that.
Right.
I'm going to email them right now and ask where we're at with that. Because I think this consultant from the state will do all this work. that
Yes,
you need.
Irene Condon,
Irene.
Right, okay.
right? Eileen or Irene?
Irene.
Irene. She would be helpful with the bylaw, whose responsibility is what.
I remember she indicated that she looked at the bylaws and she didn't think we need to make any changes.
Sorry?
As of a couple of months ago, back while I was still on Gen Gov, she emailed me and said that she didn't think the bylaws needed any changes.
Well, it says that it's free.
So, I don't,
How can
well,
it be?
that's true.
It's not,
That would be right, but other than that,
That would be what,
yeah.
that would be a
This guy said to me, where is it written? Where is it in writing? Where is it? Ah,
Right, that's the problem. So,
give me a website. Anyway. I got him from 10 down to 2, so.
we're getting there slowly.
Okay, moving on, agenda item 7, old business. A, update on tick treatment at Henry Street Field.
Yes. The treatment was done by Brahmin Pest Control Company, we've used before. That was conducted on Monday, July 4th. The same type of compound, permethrin, to control tick activity. This is the second application that was conducted. I do believe there is going to be a need for a third. More importantly, the town should be ready to enact measures next year, which was, and this was emphatically identified by the pest control company, that initial treatment should have been done in April. So we get on that schedule if needed next year and wanted. That should be a discussion and a topic that we do address to be ready for tick activity and the pest pressure that may be at the field and others, so.
Yes, as a matter of fact, the last couple of years, we have, our former trail committee members mentioned, so maybe we should look, maybe broaden the look if we're going to have a pest control for the fields, maybe any recreation areas like the hiking trails. 'Cause,
Good point.
it would be suitable for the all areas. Thank you.
Okay. Francine?
So the DPW used to spray with, I don't know what it's called, but to get the weeds down, fence lines, goalposts, wherever around trees, and they lost their certification because they have to have two types, they only have one type. I don't know, right away or whatever it's called. So to me, as far as this tick, because years ago when they were spraying, you didn't hear this. We didn't have this problem in the fields with the ticks or whatever, but now you've got weeds that the DPW has to weed whack versus spraying a chemical to kill it. Kill poison ivy or kill whatever. I'm just saying that not being done the last 3 or 4 years maybe has brought it, you know what I mean? I don't know where, it just gives them more, the ticks more space to
Yes,
gravitate to.
agreed. And there, you know, weed control, way that you do it chemically or physically, you know, and these, what they're called are cultural practices, and remove really harborage areas where the ticks are.
Right.
And predominantly these weeds.
Yes.
And even when Brahman was at Henry Street Field, and we had a representative of the DPW, gentleman there, they were emphatic to keep the grass low and remove the weeds. Pull them, cut them, spray them.
Right, yep.
So that will probably be required in the future.
Because before they even used to spray like the curbside, so you have taxpayers that saying,
Sure.
you know, we have to cut the weeds on our sidewalk and, well, yeah,
Well,
you know what I mean, that's part of maintenance of the sidewalk. Just because the town was doing it doesn't mean we can afford to do it all the
I
time.
agree, Francine. I have seen in the last month a significant amount of weed growth impeding pedestrian traffic on sidewalks.
Mhm.
And a number of those parcels I looked at were town owned. So you have all this overgrown vegetation, whatever it is, sumac, you know, grass, it's in the way. And ultimately, that's the responsibility of the town through the DPW too.
Right, but if they're not licensed by the state to do that.
But, right, no,
they
but
can't.
not with the chemical application. Again, to remove weeds, you can do it physically. You
Right.
can cut it down, pull it, right? And namely with the sidewalks, just hedge hemp.
But if some employees are allergic to sumac
Well,
and
Sure,
poison
sure,
ivy,
sure, there's a number of
so,
things.
and you only have 6
We're
people
all
on the
allergic to
floor,
But-
you got 4 that are allergic, what do you do?
No.
He's talking to that's not allergic.
Oh, everyone's allergic to that stuff.
You only have so many guys and so many, roads.
So it would be beneficial to have someone licensed, properly trained within the
Never had it,
DPW
George. It's not-
organization to do that. It absolutely would.
No, it's not, we're quarantined by doctors.
Mr. Chairman,
Otherwise, it comes down to us.
just to cut to the chase,
Again.
Ronnie Trudeau was the only guy that had a license. He went down Cape Cod, got another job, we don't have this guy to spray. I know our DPW department head brought up an idea, sublet all cutting, don't have DPW cutting lawns anymore. Sublet it, if it's a $50,000 contract, you let it out, and then take the DPW workers and do roads, sidewalk. It's a new concept brought up by the new DPW director. He's pumping the numbers to see how it'll work if it's financially feasible to do that. We have DPW workers cutting lawns 3 out of 5 days. Excuse me. Yeah, 3 out of 5 days. They were saying 3 days out of the week they're cutting lawns. It's taxing them, you're paying a lot of money, the wear and tear on the equipment. I just wanna throw that out there because this isn't part of, maybe a discussion, but I think we have a lot of good things going on. We just gotta let our department heads and our workers just continue to do their pricing and get it done. And if we get our finance, department on board and corrected within the next month or two, we'll be fine.
Very good point.
Move on. Okay, B, light update. 79 North Street. Update on 79 North Street.
79 North Street, yes. I did do an initial site assessment last week. My findings with the building, the structural integrity appeared to be satisfactory. And what I did notice is that there was evidence and appearance on the exterior that some type of cleaning has been going on. Saw a brush pile, and around the building, other piles with equipment, rakes and shovels on the side of the building. Now, I don't know the history of the building, but I did get a little bit from the building inspector. That also in asking him with further evaluation of the building, regards to the structural soundness should be done by the building inspector, Mike Julian. So I've had that discussion. Now, and just out of that discussion, he said there's some questionable areas within the building that structurally are compromised, but the entirety of the building has been okay. That's another discussion to be made. But again, just to reiterate, a further evaluation needs to take place.
Kevin?
Can I ask, how long has the present owner owned it, and why hasn't something been done?
That's a good question, Kevin. Gaining information, the owner has owned it. It was a state welfare program building?
2012.
Okay, and it's been idle since. It's been being used for storage purposes, storage practices, business. So there are materials inside and have been. I don't want to misspeak again on what's inside, what the structural integrity is until further evaluation is made. And but what I was told is the owner has been doing upkeep and still owns it. Is a couple bills deficient in taxes. But still involved. So
He is aware of the fact that the outside looks terrible. The street appeal, this is why it's on the blight list, because it detracts from the whole North Street area.
Yes, well, it's a commercial building. I mean, to me, that's subjective.
Right.
Okay, I have to tell you that.
Okay.
So I'm looking for things with blight that will impede public health and safety. Okay, cosmetics, aesthetics, again, we can all differentiate. All right, clearly if there's a building that's run down and the place has not been, the surrounding area has not been taken care of. Now, I can see it's been idle for a while, and I've seen hundreds and hundreds of different buildings in my time with the health department, and I've seen far worse. So, but I think there could be some improvement with it, agreed. But again, first and foremost and fundamentally, we're looking at whether this building can collapse or, again, create a hazard to public safety.
Blight with more appearance.
Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you live next door to that place, you really think it's a nice place to look at. It detracts from your own property's value. The place is definitely blighted. There's trees growing everywhere. The parking lot is in bad shape. It just looks like a mess. I'm not saying anything about the structure of buildings, I don't know, but it is a blighted area, and it should be cleaned up. And I would, if I were you, I would talk to the guy, because if the RMV is looking for another place to move in, that would be a perfect spot for them, and so he might wanna clean it up.
Sure, sure, and with that said, I'm sorry, my discussion with the building inspector has talked to the owner and said that he has been a history of being reactive to the building inspector and the health inspector, health director. I don't know him, nor have I talked to him. But at that time, when I was out there, I did not issue any orders and deem any violative conditions. But again, that's contingent upon a further evaluation.
Scott?
I just think that, you know, it's grown in, it looks like hell, okay, that constitute blight. I know the building very well, last tenant before the one that has it now was Monaco Restoration. He used it as storage and ran his business out of it. Yeah, it looks terrible when you live next door to it, I agree with Counselor. But the thing is, what is blight? Under the definition of blight, what is blight? That building is non-condemnable. It is a good building, it's viable, I've been in it. But then I've taken a walk around to Brick Row with a counselor and some town officials and see what real blight is, where you gotta take it down.
Yeah.
Or if it's breached, or if it's trash, like, I think you're to be commended on the one on High Street, the corner High and Main. I don't know how many 30-yard dumpsters they pulled out of that place. And it was all because it was good contact from the health department to the actual person that runs the place and owns it. So this guy here, I remember the guy on Worcester Street gave us a hard time. Well, I don't know if you remember the cars, and he let it grow in, and it's a good neighborhood. It was terrible, but we couldn't do a damn thing about it. Took him to court, and basically the house was fiscally sound. He registered the cars, so he ducked every bylaw, so he's playing the game. But this building here is a viable building. I think, you know, for future use, for a registry or something like that. And if they're starting to clean it up, basically a phone call, a little bit of courtesy from the neighborhood is really in line. But I really, one person calls blight, another person wouldn't call it blight. So I think we need to get a relationship with this landlord and come clean it up for the neighborhood.
Okay, moving on. B, update on 20 Brick Row.
20 Brick Row, we are waiting lastly for a bid from the contractor to demolish. We've got word that the individual was on site this week, just waiting for that to be turned over for our review.
Do we have to get 3 bids for this, or just?
I've been aware that if it's under 50,000, we don't.
And any projection on the?
30,
Really?
35, and we could still reach out with others, but we'd like to do that. Things have been slow, everyone's busy,
Yeah, it's
so to
very
speak, one
expensive.
of those.
Are we sure that this place doesn't have like asbestos and other? I mean, it's
That
an
will
older
be,
building, right?
that will be part of it.
Because that'll
that-
check the price down.
Well, we gotta get the price, yes, sorry. But that is a big component of it, and it's certainly required, so.
Okay.
So we want a thorough assessment and a thorough bid.
Right. Since we're on the issue of blight, can I bring something up?
Yes.
I know that that one of the issues that Eric sent down to conservation before he left as planner was 631 Charlton Street, and he was raising the issue that the conservation people and our side need to be working together because of trees down in Katy Brook creating a dam that's flooding the neighbor's home. Could you talk about that a little?
Well, it's been identified and addressed just this week. So yes, we've got to look at that, and with Eric leaving, we'd hoped we could all make a visit, myself, the building inspector, and him. But that's an ongoing case.
Okay. Have you heard anything from the neighbors about
I have
plant
not.
effects?
I have not heard anything except from Eric regarding that.
Okay, moving on.
Is that something that we should be involved in and taking a look at?
Yes, and also, you know, again, I plan on doing that in conjunction with the building inspector. Again, planner's gone. Mike does know about it too. So we've gotta go out there and evaluate it. So what we can do.
Now, Kevin?
I'm not familiar with the area or the situation, but the word flooding came up, and if this continues, is there any immediate emergency action that needs to be done to stop the damming, or is there
Well, again,
further
I have
damage
not,
gonna be
I've not
caused?
been on site to evaluate, so
Okay.
no action is being taken by the health department at this point.
When did Eric hear about this?
I don't know. What I can tell you, is we talked about it just this week. We know his day
At
was,
least look at
yep,
it soon.
yep.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on, agenda item 8, chairman's announcement.
Okay, so I do have a couple announcements, and I will start by one regarding the curbside trash and recycling that I've identified. This is a statement that was constructed by Anna Smith, our landfill monitor, individual with the health department. And it is, again, a breakdown, a reflection of what is going on currently with the curbside trash and recycling program. So I'd like to read this to you all, and hopefully this will resonate and we can take this and put it to paper to give to the residents. Okay? These are the facts, and we've tried to consolidate them, keep them clear and concise. I'll proceed. On March 31st, 2024, the current contract and funding of the curbside trash and recycling program will end. Until then, we will continue with the current contract. Town Council voted to institute a flat fee to fund the new contract. A flat fee paid by the property owners based on the number of housing units. The exact amount is yet to be determined. A request for proposal, RFP, was put out in the spring of 2023. 2 companies submitted proposals. On June 12, 2023, the Town Council voted to accept a contract with Casella for curbside trash and recycling services and to allow the town manager to sign this contract. The contract is being finalized and will be signed shortly. The new contract will be similar to the current contract. Residents will continue to use the trash and recycling toters they currently have. Property owners will pay a flat fee, most likely on a quarterly basis. Our research showed that this is less expensive than private subscription services. Recycling will continue to be picked up bi-weekly. A change will be that half the town's recycling will be picked up one week and the other half the following week. Recycling truck will be in town every 2 weeks and will be able to collect any misses from the previous week. Bulk collections will be booked directly with Casella for a fee. More information to follow. Lastly, on June 26, 2023, the Town Council accepted the Community Compact Best Practice Grant for a curbside collection analysis to research setting up an enterprise account for the final management of the flat fee charges. The town manager's office awaits the proposals for the study. That's one. Okay. My second one has to do with fluoride. This is from Stephen Gregoire, from the Southbridge Water Department. He is the manager. And this pertains to, again, fluoride being in the water and DEP, Mass DEP items. So I'll just read it verbatim, but he asked me to read this to the Board of Health and address it in a public forum. I'm sorry to be a day late. This is addressed to me, Daniel. This to you, but I want to let you know about some DEP mandated testing we are conducting. Mass DEP has asked that we conduct a fluoride tracer study. The study will give us more accurate picture into what the true water age looks like across the entire water system. The process is simple enough. We deactivate the fluoride feed system at the water plant, and we take samples twice a day from across the system. We then map out the rate that the fluoride dropped at all points. That time we will reactivate the fluoride feed system and record how quickly it turned to normal. We conducted a very similar study in 2014. There was no noticeable effect on the water system or the customers, as the study only lasted a few weeks. I wanted to keep you in the loop on this so that you can form the board at their next meeting, which is this one. I do this because technically it is the Board of Health that mandated years ago that Southridge be a community that adopted fluoridation for the obvious dental benefits. It stands to reason that we notify them when testing like this is being conducted. If you have any questions, reach out to me, I can reach out to him, but he wanted to express this. Thank you.
Number 9, board members' announcements. Gus, would you have anything to say?
I just had something actually, if we could we do something to throw in maybe the next agenda, have the fire chief or Joe Hewlett come in and tell us what our roles as the Board of Health are when it comes to the town's emergency. Unless you can answer.
Excuse me?
What the Board of Health roles are when it comes to the town's emergency plans. I don't know if you can maybe answer that question.
Well, the board, technically, if you look at by the rules, Massachusetts General Law, and the roles and responsibilities of the Board of Health, technically, there's no mandate that the Board of Health is involved in emergency preparedness by any degree, any statute. We do get involved when there is dispensing sites for vaccines. But we have been pulled in, like always, for the health department to be involved. And we have. Most communities have.
Yeah.
Okay. So at this point, we do have to update the plan. And we update it every year of the responsible individuals. The nuts and bolts of the plan stay the same, unless there's changes to location and processes, but they have stayed the same. It's really what we need to identify is roles and responsible individuals will take on those roles, and that can change. Okay. Hopefully that answers your
Because
question.
I know the emergency plan for the town is like this.
It is, and it's been kept like that. It's updated routinely, you know, with that information provided. Yes, but that is a goal that needs to be addressed this year. We can enhance that because it's sat stagnant previous to me coming here while I've been here. So, but there is one thing if I could, and I forgot in regards to blight, illegal dumping. Again, I shared this with some counselors initially when I came in for the meeting. The health department has constructed some signs. You can see right here. And we had a discussion last meeting or the previous pertaining to dumping sites and what the health department can do to enforce and stop some of these activities. And this sign, I think, would be conducive to being placed at some of these sites. We've got a number of these signs, and we're identifying these sites, town-owned sites, on property, where people have illegally dumped. And we're gonna place them up and then move forward with other measures such as gating, Jersey barriers, and quite possibly the discussions on the table for surveillance, cameras. But that is something that a discussion should be had with the board.
Mr. Lazo?
I've noticed when you go in some communities, they actually have a fine up to a certain amount. Do we have that?
We do. Yep. The problem is we have to have concrete evidence of who's doing that.
Right.
And so when that's where the cameras come to play. That they would be most helpful. Then we could use that, but we do not have that system as of yet. This is a deterrent.
How much is
But they will be placed. and then we'll follow suit. And as I expressed, I believe just, again, placing a chain, Jersey barriers to prevent vehicle going in, backing up, dumping, so forth, is the next move. But concurrent with that, surveillance cameras is a good idea as well, because without that evidence, a ticket cannot be issued.
How much authority do we have on private property? Because most of the, I brought up a couple of points earlier when we started with you about dumping that was definitely on private property, not on town property.
Well, again, on private property, if we, the enforcement people, see that, and the hardship is that there is dumping on private property, and we said, and unfortunately, the individuals that call us don't have any evidence as well. They just have items dumped on their property.
Right.
Technically, by definition of the law, we go after the owner.
But they didn't do it.
How do we know? Right? And if the item is on their property, it's on their property. Now, if they were able to stop this practice, wonderful. But if the issue at hand, if there's rubbish on property and there is an accusation, allegation, a complaint, Daniel goes out and sees a pile of debris on someone's property. Daniel doesn't know if it's been illegally dumped. The owner does, but we find the owner as to what the findings are at that time.
Right.
That's the unfortunate piece, but that's how the law works.
Jasmine, you have anything to say?
I see a lot of new board members, so this is very, very exciting. I also want to just take a second to acknowledge Nicole. She did so much for the town, and it's kind of strange to see her on the other side, but I'm very excited. Welcome new members to our circus, and I'm just very excited to see what's in store for us. So, yeah. So.
We haven't even started.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let's not forget one of our new board members. It's his birthday today, so.
Oh, there's a birthday.
Yes, so
Yeah.
we gotta commend him to being
Thanks,
at the
Dan.
meeting. And
Wow.
happy birthday.
Thanks, Jim.
That's why you're in a rush.
Yeah. Gotcha. I know. Sorry. About to talk about.
You asked for this present?
Yeah.
Best present I could ask for, that's
Part
for
of a
sure.
circus, a
right.
rolling circus is that, so.
Okay, Kevin?
Through you to the director, two things. Is it possible for you or somebody in your office, can I get a list of what the town or the department has on their radar or schedule, or possibly even court ordered for buildings that we're going after as blighted properties?
Well, I have a list of blighted properties. Yeah, I do have a list that I made up that we did visit altogether. That I call it my top 10, right? And certainly, you know, you can look at the files. It's all public records. What actions are taking place, whether they're stagnant, just sitting there. That list we are moving on. Let me emphasize that one way or
Which,
another.
that was what I was getting at, because in the past,
Well, the
been
past
a
is the past.
very slow going pace. I
Right,
wanna
right. Well, we're going to
make sure we
expedite
have
that.
our topic.
We have a plan together, and I think it will really materialize with the individuals that are going to be involved. We have a great team together, and things are going to be done. We're awaiting Mr. Jovan, town manager. We have a great town council that is very supportive of that, and they also have some new members that feel that this needs to take precedence and be addressed immediately. So we are putting our best foot forward, and we've got some others that may join the top 10 and make it 12. But we definitely have a good, solid game plan, and we'll address them immediately.
And the other thing I have is how do we stand with issuing 21D tickets? Are we still doing
We
that?
are. I have taken it upon myself and the team in anticipation that municipal charges liens will be enacted and enforced. So we are, at this point, issuing the 21D tickets.
And we're following through like.
We are absolutely, yep, there's appeals going on, payments have been made, and that is part of our routine inspectional process and enforcement. We're gonna keep those tickets, and again, next year when we can attach to fines, et cetera, to the taxes, these fines, I think it will be an excellent move. I think it will, again, resonate with not only acute violators, but chronic violators that have been here in town. And it will definitely set a good precedence. And I am very confident in this. So, good question. And what I ask from the board is there genuine support for this? I have talked about it in the past at other meetings. I am a big advocate of this. I think, and I'll leave you with compliance fundamentals, as I wrote here, is deterrence, strong support, strong enforcement. We just need, and we need a proficient system. Okay?
Nick?
I don't have anything other than, I'm glad to be here to serve with you, and if you need anything from me, don't hesitate to reach out. So.
I'd like to thank the new members. I'd like to thank the new members for allowing me to be chairman. I also like to thank Nicole for being here and for all the hard work that she's put in. I mean, Nicole, I've learned a lot from Nicole. Very good chairman, and just, it's time to move on. And I'd like to schedule our next meeting, which is September 14th, Tuesday at 6 o'clock. We always meet the second Tuesday of the month.
Thursday.
Oh, Thursday.
Thursday.
Excuse me. Second
Thursday.
Thursday, the 14th,
At what time?
6 o'clock. It's always second Tuesday, 6 o'clock. And agenda item number 11, adjournment.
Nick Dado.
Yes.
Custis.
Yep.
Jasmine Canonas. Jan Grabowski. Kevin Spillane.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thanks for helping.